Solution, a real estate podcast where myself, Phil Sexton, and my business partner,
Jeff Seabach,
we come together on the weekly with microphones between us to talk about what's going on in the industry.
Right.
But I feel like
how to put the consumer first while we do it. Today is more realtor focused though.
This is absolutely realtor, but it's not just
but there's things
there's a realtor process that we're going to talk about today, which is our listings process. And we are going to share, because now that you've listed roughly $700 million worth of homes in your career.
Roughly 700 million.
Roughly 700 million. We thought, let's come on here to talk about what the listing process looks like from a $700 million lister, and how, what we're going to interweave is how this helps the consumer.
Yes.
Is how
we actually, our listing process was completely developed in how to improve the listing process for the consumer. Everything that we do is to make it better, easier for sellers to sell their house. And that's what our industry needs, is that we need to get better at making it easier for the consumer. Because in the first section, when we talk about it, you'll get to see, but yeah.
All right. So, we do record this podcast in front of our live studio Zoom audience. So we encourage participation. If you're listening to this after the fact and you're like, man, I want to ask those guys some questions, we do it at 1:00 AZ time on Thursdays.
Maybe not on Thanksgiving, though. We'll probably record one. But other than that, we're usually live every Thursday at 1:00.
Yes.
Mountain Standard Time.
Yeah. Right now it's Mountain Standard Time, but
isn't it
during
always
daylight savings time? It's Pacific time. We can kind of toggle back and forth. But I digress.
But for us, it's always Arizona time.
That's true. That's true. All right. So let's get after it. Today's topic is about the listing process. Jeff,
so where
do you want to start?
Well, I just want to make it clear. We're going to go from lead to close, right? Like lead to, I guess it would be lead to listing. Or are we going through we're going through close?
Well, let's just get after it and we'll see how much time we have, because we're going to dedicate about a half an hour to this episode, potentially 40 minutes.
Okay.
Right. But I think the reason why today's topic is because we just got back from basically having 2 weeks of conferences where we were on stage presenting classes to Inman. And then we went to eXpCon and we were on stage presenting classes at eXpCon to the 5,500 realtors that signed up to be there. And now after both of those weeks, we come back and we're like, oh my God, it's amazing how many people were interested in this topic.
Yeah, so we're going to expand what we talked about in class. If you've been to the class, it's good to hear it again, because even if you want to listen to it over and over again, because we are going to move through the stuff. But this was one of the most popular ones, so let's get after it.
All right, so we're going to start in the listing process of when the lead comes in, because this isn't called the marketing process.
Right.
This is called the listing process. So somebody calls us up or responds to some of our marketing. They say, hey, I'd like to schedule a time for an agent to come out and talk to me about listing my house for sale.
For first step is you have to create listing prospects.
Fair.
Right. So once the listing prospects, so now that lead, they contact us, and what happens first, Phil?
Well, I thought you were going to use one of my favorite Jeff Seabach lines ever, and that's, we answer the phone.
Oh, okay. Yes. Right. Well, no, but I mean, a lot of people, especially with so much spam out there, get in a habit of turning off their phone. And one thing that we have, and it's the same thing from our leads, is that it is crucial if you're doing any kind of seller marketing that you need somebody to answer every single call with a script. I mean, we're not going to get too much deep in that, but we have a script to work through because there's 30% garbage that comes in. There's 20% agents that comes in, but that's where your listing leads come in. When you do lots of marketing, is they like the call, mostly because sellers are usually plus 40 years of old. I mean, like just in general now with millennials buying houses. I'm not saying that no one that's young owns houses, but the older generation owns more houses than the younger generation. Fair, right? But they like to call, right? To get get texts, but it's the same thing. No matter what it is, it's the first step, which is
step one.
Right.
We schedule the appointment, right? And so just a little bit more about the fact that when we hired somebody to answer the phone was when we were losing business because we were in appointments and not answering the phone.
Yeah.
And when we had enough people that were mad that we didn't answer the phone because we were in appointments, then you're like, all right, it's time.
Yeah.
I need to have somebody that is dedicated to answering the phone, at least during business hours, although now we have after hours and weekends as well. But at least during business hours, when you're most likely doing your appointments, you should have a dedicated person, human, to pick up the phone.
Yes.
So that
and we have an answering service after hours to make sure a human's picking up. So good deal.
Sheree is her name in our office. Sheree
Yes.
is
Our front office manager answers the phone every single day. And the point is that I do not talk to the seller ever, because I know that when I talk to a lot of agents and classes and all this stuff, they're like, well, how about that pre-call?
You don't have a pre-call.
There's no pre-call. I think it's a pre-call is your opportunity to lose, not win.
Right.
Because we don't have pre-call and we're still I mean, 700 million is decent. So
no, you want to get face-to-face with them.
Yes, we want.
If you have a pre-call, you might answer a question that they're like, okay, I'm good. I don't need to get face-to-face with you. And now you lost the chance of the intimacy that happens when you get belly to belly.
And yes, I'm willing to waste time driving out to a house, but is that not the best thing that we do? Like the thing, if you are saying, oh, I don't want to drive out, like you're going to have to check yourself at the door. If you're the agent that's like, well, I don't know if I need to go there unless I know that they're going to sell. I guarantee your business either flat or you're that fading winner that Tom Ferry talks about, because you've put a hurdle between you and, because really we want as many people, as many appointments possible. That is our goal, with people that own houses in their house and having a conversation with them at the house.
Selling.
Yeah, about selling. So
once the appointment, that phone conversation, they decide that Wednesday at 12 o'clock works or Saturday at 3 o'clock works, whatever the time is. We then use Google Calendar in our office. That is G Suite. We pay the money, we have the users, and Sheree adds a calendar appointment to your calendar through Google.
Through Google.
And
she has access and schedules. Yes.
She has a structure for how she puts it in there. She titles it listing appointment : the name of the client every single time. So when you're glancing at your calendar, you know where your listing appointments are immediately.
Well, not only that, when I forget to do notes in the future or something, I can always go back to my calendar to figure out what appointments I was on. So it's actually backtracking as well for those, because one of the things that we're not going to talk about in detail is that you should be tracking how many listing appointments you have, right? That's a great way to document, because agents are typically bad at documentation, a way of documenting, because then I used to go back and check, okay, did I miss one? Did I, because it's digitally, once you put it on there digitally, it doesn't go away. Right?
Correct.
Yeah.
And so
it does in the future, but not immediately. Yeah.
On there's 2 calendar appointments. One of them is our internal staff. We include our listings manager on it. If there's a co-listing agent that's going with you, we include our co-lister on that appointment. And we include our virtual assistant, AKA Jenny, who is also involved in the listing process. That is our way of giving the team a heads up that action is about to be needed.
Yes, because there is going to be action that's going to happen, and you because everybody needs to prepare for that. Because basically when we come out of the listing appointment, it's go time. That is when we should be beefing up our support after the meeting. So you got to give the people that are going to support you heads up that is coming, so that they can have their steps, so that they're free, so that they're available. Go ahead.
Correct.
Yeah.
No, and then in the notes section on that calendar appointment, because this is the internal one for staff, we include anytime there's a gate code. We also include at the very top the seller's phone number every single time. Because in the event that something has happened, you're running late, you got in a car accident, your kid, whatever, who knows, you have to be able to get into that appointment very quickly, push the button and shoot them a text message.
Yeah.
And you don't want to have to go searching for where is that client's info.
And I use that 30 to 50% of the time. The phone number.
I would say you're on time more than that.
I didn't say about on time. Sometimes if I know after pulling comps, because I don't know really about the appointment until the day of. I don't pay attention to what is scheduled before, because we're going to get to the confirmation of the appointment, but I'm looking up comps the morning of only. Once the meeting is confirmed, I just look to see if it was canceled or not. I don't have to, but
Well, hold on. 'cause
but no,
you're
but my
jumping
point,
ahead.
I know, but my point is that sometimes stuff occurs and I might want to reach out to that appointment before,
Right.
right? Like if there's something that you know, let's say I have 3 appointments before, but I may shoot them a text in advance to say, hey, I got back-to-back meetings, but I'll let you know I'm going to be running tight, right? But
Yeah.
that it's so easy to text because you're trying to make it easier for that listing agent to be able to communicate with that seller. And that's the beginning, because I like to be able to begin the text thread to see if they're responders for text, like, but most importantly, because I'm late, right? Like a lot of times I'm late, and it's better to text somebody 30 minutes before that you're going to be late than 3 minutes before, because they might not check their phone. But if you say, hey, one of my favorite ones is, hey, I just left my last appointment. It says I'm going to be 2 minutes late. But when you send that 30 minutes before, they super appreciate it. But it's also you being like, I'm busy, right? Like you, like, not I'm important, but like, but they appreciate that communication, as long as they were not a Army said sergeant, or because I have lost one being late where, people that they're like, I ain't choosing you if you're late. And sometimes that's just the way it is. So
yeah, I said that we have 2 calendar appointments in Google, but that's not the case. The calendar appointment for the client is done in our CRM.
Correct.
Sync. And inside of Commissions Inc., aka Sync, which I'm not going to get into, but anyway, we schedule that appointment inside of then, because then the CRM kicks out an email to the client with the time and the notes that we have for them. And that then is our way of attempting to get out of their spam.
Yeah.
I don't want it to be in spam. I want it to be actually something of value that they need, so that they click on it and they engage in an email from our system, so that they can engage in more emails, which obviously is going to happen.
And the thing that what you might already started to realize is because you get the call, then we have the calendar, and now the sync's reaching out to them. The client is already realizing that you are now organized. You have process.
We're not even done with day one.
I know, but that's what you want to convey as a listing agent to help you win. Because I have a thing called process over product. That process can win 30% of the time, just because they know that they know that if you miss something, it was because it was a mistake, not that you don't have it in your process. So, all right.
The last but not least, on that day that the appointment comes in, is that we get what we call a CMA 1 out to them. And the industry calls the CMA 1 a pre-listing package.
Right.
We just have our own internal words, because that was actually when it originated, we used to include comps, which we don't do anymore. It's just a marketing, it's a pre-listing package that we want to get on their doorstep within 24 hours of them reaching out to us.
Right. Basically, we made it thin and inexpensive so that we could print them out in bulk, because we like to send them, like that's something we want to send out as many as we can, CMA 1s. Yeah.
Correct. All right. Are we good?
Yeah. So CMA 1 is just an information packet about us and our marketing and our accolades, not comps, as you said. So,
okay. So that's the day that the appointment happens. All of that goes down.
Right. So you're saying that does CMA get emailed, or is that mailed, Phil?
We have a runner that drops them off on the doorstep. Don't knock. Don't say, hello, Bob, I'm here to drop off a package for Jeff. It's a drop and go.
Right. You're 15 years old.
Ding dong ditch.
It's trick or treat time. Ding dong ditch. Yes.
I don't even.
And the reason why we ding dong ditch and drop off the CMA is because people think I'm dropping off the CMA to get in the house. No. But the problem is that the seller, when I used, like, all of this has been built up over time, right?
Consistent, it constantly evolves.
Right. So what we learned is that when I went in that house,
if you were dropping off the CMA,
because I used to hand drop off the CMA, yeah,
the day that they scheduled the appointment, and you knocked on the door and was like, here's the information, I can't wait to meet you tomorrow. They're like, oh, just come in now.
Yep. And then
take a look around.
And you hadn't looked at the comps, I would be super unprepared. And then when I call to follow up to set up the listing appointment, they're like, oh, we already had it. Like, once you breach their door, that's your listing appointment. And if you weren't prepared, you sucked at it. right? And our system is set up so that we're fully prepared every time we have an appointment, because this is the most crucial thing that there is in the business, and that's winning listings. I hope you all agree.
All right, so now we're going to fast forward to the day of the appointment. We're going to talk about.
I do want to add that we mail it if the seller is out of town. Let's say it's an investment property, they live in Minnesota, and we would then mail it. And then I would, even no matter
with
what,
a FedEx account,
yes,
we would overnight them to
yeah.
people.
So if the person's out of town, it's investment property, and we go to the house, I never talk to people about a value unless I've been in the house. Yeah. So I will still go to the house. They'll get the packet at home. I'll go to the house, and then I will proceed from there. But
one of the, is it okay, you guys? I mean, with our audience, I'm going to tell a quick story before I go on. Sometimes the people just want a value. They just want to know the ring. They just want an idea of what the number is, and they balk at scheduling an appointment when they call in. And they're just have them look at the comps and give me a call. And our story to overcome that actually comes from real world scenario. And that was the two houses in Greyhawk on Overlook that was the exact same floor plan that we sold in the exact same month. They were on different sides of the street, but they were 10% apart in value. Same floor plan.
Yeah.
One was original from 98. The other one was a little bit upgraded, but still Tuscan, not transitional or whatever. And to have one at 540 and one at 604 or something like that.
Yeah.
You were like, I can't, like, that's the same floor plan on the same street in the same month. I don't want to misguide you that much. Like, might as well use the number off of one of those websites that tells you how much the house is worth.
It was the beginning of us understanding that price per square foot doesn't work.
Yeah.
Right. Like that. Those are using price per square foot, is that it's so inconsistent and not what it is. But that's how we get me in the house. Because the key is to always say, I can't tell your value until I see what you have. Right. I can't tell from pictures because I got to see the condition of things. I got to see how that rug's showing. I got to see your furniture. I got to see if your house smells. I got to feel the size of your yard. Like, there's just no way possible that I could know what your value is, again, because you're trying. If they want to know the value of their house, they're thinking of selling in the next 2 years.
And the majority of the people are calculating how much money they're going to get from that property to determine what they're going to do next. So that 10% makes a big impact.
Well, the thing is people always think buy first. They always think their house is going to sell for sure. They just want to know the number. But it's still the beginning of the selling process, no matter what. It's just whether they're going to move in 6 months, 12 months, 2 years, or 3 years. Remember, if it's a house and they live in it, that house will get sold. Everybody,
Up next, so day of appointment, the morning of the appointment, when Sheree comes into the office, she looks to see what listing appointments you have that day, or what listing appointments our team members she's scheduled for that day. And you know what she does? Calls and or texts to confirm the appointment with the client.
Right.
And we really started to do this consistently when one day, Jeff went to a listing appointment in New River, which is about, 30 minutes, 35 minutes north of our office. And when he got to the house and knocked on the door, the people there were like really confused about why he showed up. And so when he came back and I was like, hey, how'd that listing appointment go? He's like, there was no list. They were not prepared for a listing appointment at all. And I'm like, what? How did this happen? Turns out a year prior, we had scheduled a listing appointment for you and put the wrong year on the calendar date. And so that was probably the latest you've ever shown up for a listing appointment. Because it was the year prior that the client's name, we saw that somebody had sold the house. It wasn't us.
Right. You ever hear people say fail forward? Yeah, that was us. Okay.
So now we call to make sure that we're in the right year.
Yeah. No, but also it's more of, again, process. Ideally, you want the best person going on a listing, and typically that best person's time's worth money. And as we're calling to check that, we
got to make sure that nothing has come up, and process over product that shows that we are serious.
We just want them prepared for when we're coming. Yep.
So then you get there. Let's move into the.
All right. Let's pause here and just see if there's any questions on the pre appointment
process.
Yeah. Anyone out there want to work on their mute button?
Triple P for. I'm looking and I'm not seeing anybody on mute. We're good.
Jeff unmuted.
Oh,
Is
I
that
see
me?
Jeff.
The
That's
first
you.
one. Okay. All right.
All right.
All right. Good deal. All right.
You
We'll move
ready?
on.
So
All
the
right.
appointment, Jeff. But right
And
before,
any text chats in there? No text chats? Okay. All right.
right before you walk into the house, do you pull out your cell phone?
Every time.
Okay. What do you
Right.
do with it?
Check Facebook.
No.
Well, what are we supposed to do with phones? Are we supposed to just check our social media only?
What
No,
do you do?
no. I pull out my phone and I open the Evernote app. So those that are not familiar with Evernote, it's an application that allows you to record.
It allows you to take notes. It allows you to post.
It allows you to take photos
Yes.
of the house and all in one place. But also it allows you to then add notes to that appointment as well, because you can type in there. So it's just a great it's not just a recording device. So
you record the listing appointment.
yes, if you haven't heard that before, I mean, when we went to eXpCon, there was 300 people in a room and I asked all of the listing agents, do you guys record your listing appointments? And for the first time ever, we asked the question and nobody raised their hand.
Yeah.
Right. And this is the first point of, I mean, the first half, you could say putting the consumer first, because it's clear that we communicated to that seller everything that was going on so far. Right. Because we confirmed with them, we're not wasting their time. We told them, we heard you, right? We made the appointment, we reconfirmed. And now when I get there, the idea behind recording listing appointments is that I extract the most amount of information about that listing during the listing appointment. Phil and I.
How long are your listing appointments? How long do they typically last?
Now 35 to 50 minutes, 60 minutes.
On how big of a property?
I mean, if it's over 5,000 square feet, it's probably an hour to an hour and a half, right? Okay. So, but most of them are in that range. Okay. Well, right now, when the market's slower, the listing appointment is plus 15 minutes to 30 minutes on each of those time frames because of the style. But the key is you're talking to the seller about everything about their house. But the key part about our listing appointment is I intricately go through their details of their house, which is used for the marketing. We talk about the pros, the cons, we talk about their listing prices. And I just don't want, because we tried to take notes. We tried to take notes under upgrades. And was that hard, Phil?
Yeah.
It's almost impossible to handwrite notes while you're like.
Oh, no. It's not impossible.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's actually easier. And everybody in here will want to default to that first because you're most comfortable writing with your hand. The problem is when you get back to the office to type up your notes in order to share them with the client, that takes a long time. And so when we started taking notes on an iPad, that's when it started to become more efficient because we could then not have to type up our handwriting. We already had it typed out, so it became quicker to email the client the notes after the meeting. We moved to recording the meeting when I stopped going with you, because now from that recording, our assistant can transcribe the audio file.
Right.
So the thing that I was trying to get to, though, when you pulled out your phone before you walk into the door, was you open up Evernote, but you also put your phone in airplane mode.
Right. Because what happens with Evernote is if your phone rings, it stops recording. Right. So it's like double jeopardy because you think you're recording and you're not recording. And now you because you tell them that you're going to email them the notes after. And then you got to remember it. So you got to make sure that the phone doesn't ring and stop recording. You even have to check the recording multiple times. You have to practice so to make sure that it's always recording. You look down, there's a red notified showing that it's recording that you look, because you got to make sure that because you're valuing the point of this though is you're valuing so much every word that you're sharing, and you don't realize how much I talk over the client. They double talk. Yeah.
What?
No. Oh, absolutely.
That's the only person you talk to.
No. I talk over everybody. But the husband speaks, the wife speaks. You're like they're like, especially if there's two people in the appointment, because sometimes I have a co-list and they're talking to it. Like you're capturing everything.
Do you tell the client you're recording?
Every single time. So the way that I tell, you might want to write this down, and here's how I inform clients that I'm going to be recording the appointment. I say, are you okay if I record some notes? And they say, yes, every single time. But I mean, in Arizona, it's a single
recording law state.
Yeah, one party you don't have to say, but I still do it every time because I want them to. And I say, because what I'm going to do is I don't want to lose anything that we say. I said, we tried typing, like writing notes, we tried typing them. We just can't do it fast enough because you're talking about your house and you don't need, I mean, like I'm asking you questions, but because I'm recording what kind of countertops they got, what kind of refrigerator they got, what, do they have gas, what kind of, what type of wood the cabinets are, what type of wood the floors are. But that's
what material, do you take any materials to the listing appointment?
I take pictures of the stuff to help Jenny so that she can, when she's typing it up. Sorry.
When you walk into that listing appointment, do you have a folder with more marketing materials in your hand?
A CMA2, yes.
Okay, great.
Right. So number 6 is, we got to take this. It's actually 7 on your list, but I take a second, because the idea is this came through
you said CMA2.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Well, it's just understanding that you want to present different information at different times to make that information more relevant at that time. So I learned it because I used to go to these listing appointment classes, right? They don't have them anymore. They used to be, I don't know, in 5, 6, 7, 8. And they would 2005, 6, 7, 8. I would go to these listing appointment classes and top agents would come in and share. And they said during their studies, they need this, they need that. That's what's in the CMA2 is any special programs for marketing that you have. But I include communication. I include the details of what it's going to take for the listing steps.
Yeah.
I include
pricing
explanations and definitions for my pricing explanation. It's just an additional document to again display process.
Right.
And if they already got the first CMA and it's there, I usually just take the picture, the pages out, stick it in, and I take the second folder just because it seems ridiculous that they got 2 folders. Yeah. And we went to a folder is because people keep the folder, people don't throw out the folder.
Yeah.
So
nice. So then that's the appointment happens. Now when you pull out those pages from your folder, do you say, and this is what this page is, and this is what this page
never
is? You just it's just a leave behind.
It's a leave behind.
Great. So when we talk about listing presentations, I think that this industry has, like, when I think of a listing presentation, to me that is it's probably a PowerPoint presentation, or it's a book that's got translucent, those pages.
Well, I
can flip through and show them. Like
I got it in. They're like, well, can you share your listing presentation with me? I'm like, sure. What questions do you have? It's just my listing appointment.
You don't sit down and go through a guided tour like you're saying.
Yeah. No. Here's why. All right. How about we poll the audience?
Okay.
All right. So who knows why you would not ever show them a slideshow of stuff during the listing appointment?
You're crazy. Most of them do.
I know. That's what I'm
saying. How would they know why they would never?
Okay.
Who does?
Why? Okay. Why do they think I wouldn't go to a slide deck?
Oh.
Okay.
All right. Let's see. Who wants to guess of why Jeff doesn't want to use slides when he is in a listing appointment?
Because they don't pay attention to that.
David Marsh.
Good. Thank you for participating. True. Agreed.
Any other guesses? Okay, well then well then you tell us.
Because salespeople take slides, right? Like you're pitching yourself as that you're pitching them,
right? And
I'm having a discussion with them. Like nobody wants to be. Do you think anyone? Hey, can I come pitch you?
I mean, look. That's just what works for you.
Okay, fair.
Because yesterday we had a meeting where I thought we should have had slides. I wanted slides in yesterday's meeting that we had.
True.
And I was like, dude, I can't follow all of this information. without
Okay,
it."
but I mean, essentially, I take the lead behind in case they want to go through stuff, then I pull it out a little bit, right?
Yes.
But also, I do comps on a computer.
Right.
Most people
you're-
take something to be able to show them value. Like I mean, I'm a big fan of Greg Robertson, or is that his name? The guy that has in a podcast with Rob Hahn,
Yeah.
and they created something that's called the Cloud CMA.
Yeah.
And to me, that just shows you that you're stuck 15 years ago. If you're still presenting that, like you're not, like, to me, we're in the listing appointment, tell people how we're digital now, and we're using Instagram, and we're using Facebook, and then we're showing people fucking slides. Sorry, the F-bomb, I couldn't help it there, but I am from Pennsylvania. I am used to saying it out loud, and it just came out. But to me, we're talking about how we're digital experts. Yet we're showing people, like, it's just they're handing people paper comps. Like, why are you handing people paper comps? Like,
Oh, it's so good. I think that what we used to take paper comps, and it was when we would show up and there would be something about the house that made it different that we couldn't see prior to going there, that all the comps now became irrelevant that we had printed out. And we were forced to go to a live comp review because now you prepared for something.
yeah, you're
that
talking about
doesn't exist.
2013. No, that was
Agreed.
10 years ago we stopped. Like,
Yeah.
the reality is,
But we still see agents that take paper comps to listing appointments, do we not?
and you can win with it. You can
Yeah.
win with any strategy. The reality is if most of your listing appointments are by referral, you can use all those old strategies and still
You
win a
just
lot.
DocuSign them a listing
Yeah,
appointment.
right. Like, yeah. I mean, I have, but the key part is we do this process, whether it is the list me call, because I mean, each year I list about 50 houses that I know I won before I even go there. I just have to go out and, follow the process, but we still, because we want more referrals.
Yeah.
Right. What people don't realize is when they do a sucky job or they go there knowing they're going to get it, they show up with the paperwork and sign. That's not impressive. Right. Like, this is showtime. This is showtime. This is all documented because it works.
All right. So after that listing appointment, you now walk out of the appointment and you switch your phone back into non-airplane mode
Non-airplane mode.
so that it can sync to so that Evernote audio can sync to the cloud.
Right. You actually have to update, pull it down one time so it refreshes, so that, because I have someone else, you may type it up yourself, and that is okay, but I have somebody else on the marketing team that types up every single listing appointment. And those that are running teams, it's great for training.
To have recordings of listing appointments.
Right.
Yes.
Because then they can listen to the recordings, and then also, but more importantly, whoever's listening to the listing appointments learns what they will just say. When I go, it's what should be said, and it's how it should be answered, ideally close enough to what it is. It's our best effort. We know when people are not presenting what they were supposed to be presenting, because they record them and send them in. It's great for training. When Jenny says, we even have a scorecard that we come out and create people, whether they stuck to what they were supposed to, because there's just certain things that you have developed, what that works in listing appointments, and you want to make sure that you get to those things every single time. So
just to make sure that it was clear there, when you're not the one going, when it's an agent on our team going, they still follow this same process. They got to walk into the house. They got to turn airplane mode off. They got to turn Evernote on. They have to click record.
well, let's just be honest.
And-
They're agents. They try and emulate it as best as possible. Yes, our team does it exactly the same every single time. But what is said in the listing appointment varies depending on the agent's ability to deliver the message.
All right. So now we're out of the listing appointment, and the Evernote is synced to the cloud, which that allows access to Jenny, who transcribes them for us.
Yep.
Right. And Jenny has transcribed enough of them.
About 2,000. Yeah.
We have 5 basic categories: pros, cons, to-dos in preparation for selling, pricing, which includes commissions and price of the property, and marketing. Those 5 categories are what those audio recordings get fed into. every single time.
Right, it's a standardized document that we follow that, so then Jenny organizes the information that,
And so now it takes Jenny, let's just call it the half an hour or 55 minutes to listen to that audio recording as she is filling in the information in these 5 categories. And then before she sends that to the client, which is the next step, she calls whoever the listing agent was to confirm what she heard on the audio or to clarify what might have been muffled on the audio. Because you don't use a lavalier mic, right? Where do you put the phone when
my back pocket.
your back pocket
Yeah.
while you're walking around the house?
Or on top of my computer.
And
I
you
kind of
hold it in
take
your
my,
hand.
I take my hand and I clamp to, sometimes I put my computer down at the, where we sat at the table, because I do in the listing process, I do a sit, walk, sit, right? We sit to talk about their questions, then we walk around to show me the house, and then we sit to review the comps after, because now I've reviewed the house, and now, because I don't prepare a general range for pricing, and then I adjust based on the comps or condition of the house.
I gotta give a shout out to Russ Shaw, just because I think of, you have a Russ Shaw story in this? I got one if you don't. When he said you have to see every aspect of the house before you sit down and talk
Okay,
pricing.
all right, good. Well, a shout out to Russell Shaw. I got this from Russell Shaw. I just wanted to improve it a little bit,
Yeah,
right? Because Russell said when we went to his seminar, I went to his seminars about 4 times in 2009, 10 range, somewhere in that range. I went over and over and over again, and he would talk about his listing appointment, that he said how important it was that you see everything about the house. And I follow that to a T.
yeah.
Is that I make sure I look in every single closet. I look in any, I mean, like,
Yeah.
I don't crawl up in the hatch upstairs, but I'm in the garage. I'm looking at the water heater. I walk the full exterior of the house when I'm there, inside and out. And I make sure that they know that I love their house.
If you don't walk the house, like the one, I remember the one that we walk in, the guy totally threw our process off. He was like, come on, let's just go over here. I want to talk about that. Like, whatever. We fell off of the process. We sit down. And when you start talking to him about comps, he made a comment like, well, you didn't see the inside of those closets.
Yeah, right.
How could you know what my house was
No.
worth when you didn't see what I did
Yeah.
over there?
A reminder of why Russell was right.
Yes.
Because the reason that you want to make sure that you walk
everything
is because you will, like, they will
challenge your valuation if you clearly didn't see how nice my
right.
whatever
And
was.
it's why I go through, when they painted the rooms, it's why I go when they bought the carpet, it's why I go through every, like, and I'm bragging about their house to them. Oh my God, look at that view of the like, yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
So Jenny puts the transcription together, and that is a link inside of Evernote. That is a document, a note, if you will, inside of Evernote. That note is then shareable. And so she shares that transcription with 3 basic people. The seller, so that they can confirm that we heard them and there's anything in the notes that we need to correct, because sometimes the bathroom count is wrong, or the floor, the year the roof was replaced was wrong, or whatever, and they want to correct, they make sure to correct that we're on the same page. That also goes to our listings manager. The listings manager is the one that is going to execute the paperwork, the listing agreement, because do you take a listing agreement to the listing?
Never.
Okay. And then it also goes to our stager, and our stager is the one that is.
I lies sometimes. In the hot market,
let's go with rarely.
Rarely. All right.
But the stager is the one that when she gets the write-up, the section that she cares about are the to-dos. Whatever needs to be done on that property in order to get it ready for marketing.
Yeah. The only thing I add to that is it also goes in sync for the rest of the team members, anyone. The notes are in sync.
Yeah.
If there's a co-listing agent, go ahead.
I'm going to say that a little bit differently. Is when Jenny sends it to the seller, she does it through sync.
Okay, great.
Right? She goes into sync, she clicks the template, and she pastes the link to the Evernote file, and now it is documented so we can all see the same link that the seller got.
Great. All right, let's go to the audience. Questions about either part of the process? Thanks, Carlos. You missed, when did you check in? I didn't see you up there.
I can.
I had to do a final walkthrough, so I just checked in.
Okay, all right,
That's
good
an
deal.
acceptable excuse.
Okay, we'll go with that one.
Yeah.
All right.
You know, in our world, it's my buyers were in from California.
Yeah, Carlos is from Texas, a longtime listener. Love his
Yeah.
feedback. Thank you, Carlos. We'll continue on. So is there any questions out there on the pre-process or the listing and then the point where we send it out? What we covered so far, basically.
And what I do is I like to watch the people on Zoom that are all muted to see if their mute turns off. But I didn't see any mutes.
I didn't see
turn
any.
off.
Okay,
So
let's
keep
continue
going.
on. All right, good
You
deal.
must be doing an outstanding job of answering all the questions.
Or I just talk too fast and they don't understand what I'm saying. One or the other. Okay, good deal. All right.
So after, I mean, to me, that what we just covered right there is the meat of our listing process.
Yeah, I think that the thing I want to add there is why we are sharing the stuff with the stager, with the seller, with the listing manager is the beginning of seller follow-up. Because the hardest thing for me with when I didn't have the process in place was the follow-up call. It wasn't that hard, but it was just, like, because I was always like,
did I win?
Yeah, right. Like that was the like.
So do you want a date?
Yeah, and I had different scripts and all that stuff, but the idea is that because I kind of wait to because the next person that reaches out is the listings manager, right? And then the stager also reaches out. So now we got 3 follow-up touch points within basically 24 hours after the listing process. And nobody, yeah, go ahead.
They're all versed on the exact conversation that you had in the listing appointment.
And
there's no data transfer errors because we all have it recorded. I'm sorry, there's minimal data transfer.
Minimal errors, right? Yes.
Because we all have that recording. And the reason why we do that is so that we don't have to ask the seller the same questions from 3 different people in the process and then them feel like we don't actually listen.
Right. But there is 7 questions that the listing agent asked me after, and that's basically, are their pants on fire? Do they need to list by, how fast do they want to list? And usually I don't believe in listing appointment list the next day, that is in best interest of the seller. There's no property that go out is perfect. And like, to me, the fact that is very common. You want to do marketing and you want to start marketing before,
Yeah.
but the listing manager, I forgot where I was going with that.
All right. Well, the listing manager follows up with the client, then the stager follows up with the client.
Oh, the 7 questions, right? So he asked the terms. So he asked, when is it listing? Is it they want to list by next Friday, or we talk about the date that I talked about when they want to list. The second one is, did I think I won or not? Because half the time I come back, I'm like, we got it, right? Done deal. So then make sure you're following up by today, or maybe if it's over a weekend, I'll text them on a Sunday, make sure you follow up tomorrow. And then it's the commission that we discussed, which is now standard. And then any special stuff about the property that whoever's following up, which is the listing manager and then the stager, that they will need to know before the notes are done. Like, is there any hot things like
you can't open the door to the 3rd bedroom because the bird will get out.
Right. They have cats or whatever it is. They have a son that's, or 3 sons that are there over the age of 25, just stuff like that. It's a hoarder's house and this place is a shit show. Please prepare Lisa because she needs to plug her nose when she goes over there because it stinks. Just stuff like that.
Or it's a super nice property with elegant art, and we're going to have to do a tour of the 4 people that are going to be showing.
Or this guy wants a special video, or I mean, you never stuff that was discussed that's not evident on the Evernote that whoever's following up on that next call really needs to know, that really sets the tone. Because the goal was to make sure that everything was heard, and then that it's literally just, we're starting to work, like, because it's conveyed to them that we're going to start working for you, because Adam's going to reach out with the listing paperwork, because he was like, if he won, then he's going to tell them, like, I'll have it out to you by 5 o'clock tonight or next morning or whatever it is.
So the stager, who's actually on staff,
yes,
is an evolved role of a stager. It's not just somebody that makes the house, that sets the house up in the nicest fashion, but it's actually somebody who helps coordinate the photographer, right? She works with the listings manager to accomplish anything that is in the to-do section on what needs to be done in order to get that house ready to sell.
She's meant to help the seller get from the listing appointment to ready, no matter what it is. And she becomes at that point the listing manager still is following up, but she is out at the property helping them prepare the property. It's free. There's no charge for it. We don't do furniture. It's really about decluttering, depersonalizing that house to present the house. Because that's the thing, is usually people need edits, because especially now, man, wow, like going out to houses, they're just packing those houses full of shit. Like I don't know, like what COVID did about people, like just like because they're home more. I don't know if they were shopping at yard sales a lot more or whatever it is, but the houses are fuller than they ever are, and we need to declutter and depersonalize those houses.
The rent of storage units keeps going up.
Yes.
Forget it.
Yes.
All right. So once the property is now ready for marketing, we've got three stages of marketing. The first stage, pre-MLS. I kind of feel like that's a controversial word these days.
Yeah, well, in some states though, they don't have that stage. So
Pre-MLS, before it ever hits the MLS, they have in every state, they have before it ever hits the MLS. I think what you're referring to is the second stage, which is coming soon.
Okay.
Right. So before it ever hits the MLS is different than coming soon.
It's why I call Phil an asshole. Right? Because he just pointed out that, Jeff, it's pre-MLS. We all have before MLS. You're such a, like, that's, how do you not love Phil Sexton, right?
It's okay that you didn't hear me.
Okay.
The pre-MLS stage is where we use our digs.
Okay, right. So we created an application because Leopard,
the National Association of Teams for Consumers,
right?
Real estate
because
for consumers.
I mean, I just struggle with the idea of when we're representing the seller, and our job is to market their property, and now their expectation is that they're going to get multiple offers. Well,
like minute 4,
right? So, that means we have to be price perfect and condition and all that stuff. There's no, like, it's a dream that we're going to put every property in. It's going to get multiple offers the first day. Like, unfortunately, there's just a point where we want to start. I thought before I was told by NAR that I'm not allowed to market for my seller or help my seller market the house before it gets on the MLS. I thought the seller hired us to market their house. Right. Yeah. So, they do.
But now the rule from MLS 8.0, which we've talked a lot about on here, which we've talked a lot about on this podcast, is that you have 24 hours from when you start marketing a property to when it has to be in the MLS. Actually, NAR came out with their rules, and then the different MLSs had to adopt the rules. And so that is now an ARMLess and ARMLS rule that we have 24 hours or 1 business day from when we start marketing a property that it has to be in the MLS.
And we're not rule breakers. So
we're rule followers. So now on Friday, if we want to list the house, we put it on the Our Digs app.
Right.
And that becomes a sign. Well, on Friday, when we begin marketing, that's when our sign goes up. That's when the Our Digs sign writer goes up. We add it to cboc.com. We add it to Our Digs.
Still not on MLS.
Not on MLS.
Yes.
And so sometimes, depending on the client and the listing agent, we do an open house on that Saturday and Sunday when it's not in the MLS yet.
Right.
But then Monday hits, and now it's First Look Friday is when we start our marketing. Right. MLS Monday is the 1 business day later where we add it to MLS and we put it in the coming soon status on MLS.
Right. And why we created it is for listing agents is because I think that we should be providing our sellers feedback on what the consumers want, and the current showing time feedback has feedback from agents, not from buyers. And this gives you an opportunity for buyers to ask questions. Because the thing is, the consumer more than 50% of the time goes to a site to an agent that knows nothing about the property. And I wanted a way that consumers could talk to and know who the listing agent is, because they want to talk to the listing agent, but then to deliver the leads to that listing agent. And that's why we created our Digs as a platform to help consumers learn about the property from the listing specialist, the person that knows the most about the house, because that's what our seller thinks. Our seller thinks we're going to market the house and identify buyers for them. And this is just you fulfilling that need for them, so you can give them real feedback. Do we have a question from the audience?
We have two questions.
Okay, all right.
We've got 5 minutes. First question from Gerald. Where are you getting leads specifically to set these appointments?
That's a great question, but that's an entirely different topic. So this is the listing process, and we can talk about where we get listing leads. But
But actually just listen to some of the older episodes, kind of scroll through the episodes, because we have lots of episodes on how we do marketing, where we get the leads. So thank you for the question, Gerald.
Yeah, we've got different silos, right? From geographic farms to online generation to our database, our marketing, our
open houses.
Open house. Thank you, Carlos.
Everywhere. I don't know. It's hard. I don't want to be disrespectful.
We got 250 episodes about marketing. This one. So
Yeah.
What was the second question? Thank you, Gerald.
A few more now. Joe McShane, are you guys using?
Hey, Joe.
What's up?
Yeah, Eric, the episodes, I'll send a recap, and I'll be sure to send you where those past episodes are, since there were a couple of questions on that. But Joe McShane, are you guys using your own instant offer company that isn't CBOC branded to capture seller leads? And then side note, are you using your own instant offer to provide immediate offers since Zillow is gone?
We've played with it, but I wouldn't say that it is a consistent thing that we push over and over and over again. We have done, kind of the concierge service of offers that we have rolled out to people. We have different, we've done a few different items, but again, we're getting into the lead generation topic, and I want to wrap up the listing appointment process. Any other questions about the listing process as opposed to lead generation? We
use Open Door and OfferPad, and we have a couple locals that we use to get offers to sellers, just to finish that out. But
yes, the answer is yes. Any other process questions, Lena? And I think what I'm hearing right now is that we should probably have a "How do you generate seller leads" podcast.
Awesome. It can't be the next one. It'll have to be the following one. But okay, one upcoming. Please listen.
So just to wrap this up, and then I know we only had 5 minutes left a minute ago. So after the pre-MLS stage, meaning when it goes on MLS on Monday, then it goes active typically around Wednesday, Thursday. It goes active we flip it from coming soon to active, so that we can get that syndication of that listing out to as many websites as possible to help us advertise the open house on that first weekend after it goes active.
Right. Ideally, we're targeting, we're leveraging the coming soon period of time, and then the active period of time to maximize, to generate as much interest, because the idea is that the more buyers that come while other buyers are there shows the other buyers the demand that you're generating, and that's what helps you get multiple offers. I mean, we had one that we just had coming soon. We got multiple offers pre-market, and that's why when Emma's the house sold 200,000 over asking price. Okay, it was a 1.6 listing.
Man, everybody just thought, boy, you mispriced that property.
Yeah. It appraised for 1.6. It sold for 1.8. I know I mispriced it at 1.65. So yeah, right. No, I didn't misprice it. It's just that there's not that much demand. But the idea is that it's false to think that you can't market a house before getting active. Like, to me, I don't that's just like
even I mean, we see now our agents are talking about like you tease the marketing that happens of, hey, what's going on, guys? I got a property that's 3 bedrooms, 2 baths in Desert Ridge coming up at 500,000. Let me know if you have anybody frustrated that they haven't been able to find a house lately. And now you're not technically marketing that address, so you're staying within the rules, being vague enough, but you can still generate demand.
We think at any time our job is to market the house for the seller. All right, so now
it's active, and then when the offers start coming in is when it transitions from our listings manager to our transaction room.
Right. So we created a system where I actually don't negotiate the contracts anymore. I haven't negotiated a contract in about
You meddle in them every once in a
I
while.
meddle. I mean,
And our TCs are thankful every time.
yeah, no, they hate it. But I mean, when there's a difficult situation, we get involved in
Yes.
any difficult situation, right? But the reality is we've been having someone other than the listing agent negotiate
Not commission.
I'm sorry, contracts
Yeah.
for the last 5 years. And what it is there's a skill in negotiating. Because like the idea of the agent is really kind of silly because we're generalists, right? Oh, I'm good at marketing. I'm good at contract negotiation. I'm good at staging. I'm good at marketing. Bullshit, right? Like there's no other industry where one person's good at all 12
All aspects of business.
Yes, right. Like that, like to me, that was the idea is we've broken it down into different segments and then we help those people excel at that process, but it has worked excellently.
So when our transaction room takes over that file, they take it from offer to close.
But they also use the Evernote notes to know what price, right? Because on there, because that's the seller's thing. And this is a huge point.
Before we get to the huge point, I know that we took a long time to get to the commercial. Is it too late for a commercial?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah? All right, well then let's not take one.
We're at the
It's
end.
at the end.
Okay,
All right. No cliffhangers then.
No,
Let's go.
but the idea is that sellers forget.
The biggest point.
The biggest point is that because sellers forget from when you talk about price because they don't take notes ever at the listing appointment. It's their house. Why would they be taking notes? They just don't. Now, listing, blah, 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 offer is 2 weeks later, 6 weeks later. In 2018, it could be 6 months later. And remember, they didn't take notes. So how could they remember? They remember one price, even though I give them 3 every single time. They say and they always remember, Carlos, do you think they remember the low price or the high price that I tell them?
The high price.
Yeah,
He's right.
yeah, exactly. It's why we give them a high price and a low price. But the idea is that we can then refer them back to the document we sent after the discussion, which we told them was, I'm going to give you notes so you can review all of the upgrades that includes pricing, so that they reviewed it. And then they didn't rebut it at that time because they never rebut that at that time. We say high, high, little, low pricing. But now the transaction coordinator, the contract room can go back and say, well, Jeff told you it was going to be this price and we listed at this price. And and as you get better at listing houses, you'll get more accurate. And then that number, because the idea is the low price is the price that will sell multiple offers the first day. And the high price is usually 10% above what I think I can get. But it's just to give them a framework so that you can then use that to negotiate. Because we talked about it, like you've known now for 30 days that we were going to go after this price and now you're changing it, right? Like, anyway, it's just a good chance because you put what you said in writing. The price is the note.
Yes, from the beginning.
From the beginning, right? I told you what the price is and I'm willing to put it in writing. And I sent it to you and confirmed it.
Last but not least, once that transaction closes, it moves to our closing room. And the closing room are the ones that take care of the gifts and the review. And that is a review of every single client that we have to make sure that regardless of who the agent is on that file, and regardless of what the agent
Yes.
tells us, whether they want us to review that client or not, does not matter. We review every single client and currently have a 73% response rate from us reaching out with our NPS score review.
Right. And we went to an NPS score because it's the most
simple
and it's publicly, there's documentation publicly known out there. And the reality is we were shocked at how good the reviews are. And we have used the reviews to improve our process, similar to like Best of Zillow was, as we've been using this. And now the numbers are world class. So
what listing process in how long? What? 40 minutes?
No,
An hour.
An hour.
Oh, all right. Well, thank you for hanging in. Any more
Yes.
questions, comments, feedback, anything else you want to hear from? Let us know.
Adios.
Glad to see y'all again. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.